Joe Samaniego from Portland International Raceway. It is race weekend here in the Pacific Northwest. The NASCAR Xfinity Series and the ARCA Menards Series West are headlining the weekend right here. Big weekend for the Xfinity Series drivers. Let's get started with the top three drivers I think most people are going to be watching. Shane Van Gisbergen is making his first start here. He nearly won Circuit of the Americas until Austin Hill collided with him in the last lap. They're racing for the win. Shane Van Gisbergen got a penalty. That ruined his day. One of the keys with Austin Hill, he got a penalty this week for what he did to Cole Custer. Be interesting to see how he races. Will he still be just as physical, just as aggressive, or will he be a little bit more careful, especially around Cole Custer? Cole Custer, the defending champion of this race. He's going out there trying to get a win, trying to prove he is still the top driver to beat here in the series, and try to line up something for next year. With the big news, Stewart-Haas Racing's closing up shop at the end of 2024. He wants to find himself a ride for 2025. One of the big things we asked Cole Custer this year, we don't have the same pit stop format where all the teams came in during the stage breaks and changed tires, didn't lose a position. We have live pit stops here, but it still presents a unique challenge, as Cole Custer explains.
For sure. I mean, we've talked a lot about that actually, because it is going to be interesting. Because we're doing live pit stops, but we don't have our usual pit crew members. So our mechanics are pretty much trying to, pit the car and do it as fast as they can. So it's going to be wild. I mean, there's going to be a big spread in the field on pit road, but it's one of those things that it's the same for everybody, and we just got to figure out how to do it the best. So we've been practicing on pit road and trying to get things as perfect as we can to try and make sure we set ourselves up for a win.
Now, along with Cole Custer, we have A.J. Allmendinger. He won here in 2022 under extremely wet conditions, survived. He is back. He wants to go out there, get a win, try to turn the season around for Kaulig racing. It has not been that good for Kaulig racing. Of course, we've been talking about it on past episodes right here on the Grid Network, whether it's Grid Tonight, Grid Live, Encore, Kaulig racing. Their motto is trophy hunting. They could really use a trophy. Portland's a great opportunity for that. You have the ARCA Menards Series West. Several drivers are going to be out there trophy hunting, but they're going to have some big names to compete against. Marco Andretti's in the field. Marco Andretti coming off a disappointing Indianapolis 500. He has raced here before in Indy cars. He could be a potential winning contender. You also have Isabella Robusto. We've been following her in the Women in Motorsports. She's going to want to have a good outing right here on a road course in Portland International Raceway. It's going to be very unique because this racetrack, 1.9 miles, very flat. It'll be very interesting to see how she does. It'll be also interesting to follow the two locals right here, Caleb and Eric from the Pacific Northwest. We caught up with both of them at 10 Barrels Brewing, where they were hosting the NASCAR launch party. Here's what both drivers had to say. Joe here with Caleb Shrader. Caleb, how's everything going? How are you enjoying everything in Portland so far?
I'm loving it here. I mean, I live in Tyker, just about 10 miles south from here, so I'm pretty used to being around here.
Now, last year we talked to you before the race. This year, second year, what are you anticipating this year's race?
Hopefully this year to be finishing better than 7th and qualifying better than 11th. But, I mean, hopefully, obviously having a clean race up front, and then hopefully having a chance to go for the win.
Now, you got a stacked field. We got Marco Andretti coming in. Isabella Robusto's coming as well, too. How big is it to race against some of these names, especially we got such a diverse crowd coming because of the Xfinity Series with some of the big names like Shane Van Gisbergen? Looks like going to have a good turnout.
Yeah, a bunch of the national drivers for ARCA are racing, so that is pretty course, just to gain some road course experience. So it'll be a mixed field, and hopefully we have some fun out there.
Now, last year, we saw in the start, they initially go past Shelton Chicane. Is that something where you feel like that's something where that's still something welcome, or is that something where we like to see that challenge at the first lap, first corner? Let's add that in.
Well, the first lap on the first turn, I may have started braking and turning when I didn't know about going straight. So I went from last on the first lap, so definitely I would rather at least, I kind of think that it'd be better. It'd be more carnage, but I say add the chicane on the start.
And, of course, qualifying, that's going to be the big determination where you all start. How critical is it qualifying for the ARCA race here at Portland?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the farther up you are, you're better. Especially if you're on the inside at least, then you'll be golden.
Caleb, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Standing here with Eric Johnson. Good to see you again. Second time around here at Portland. How are you feeling about this weekend?
I just couldn't be more excited, to be honest with you. It's home track, like we said last year. Having everyone out for that first time was so surreal, but now going after our first full-time season and going for the Rookie of the Year and things like that, it just makes it that much more, emotional and that much bigger for us. And so having our partners out here has just been so much fun, and I couldn't be more thrilled to get out there. It's been such a long week of build-up and promoting. I'm ready to go.
And this weekend, you got some big competition coming. We got Marco Andretti in the field. Isabella Robusto is coming out as well, too, with a lot of the Toyota back in. How stiff is the competition, and does that add a little bit more pressure that I'm racing against potentially starting along Marco Andretti or Isabella?
As far as the names go, once you get out there, it's so cool to see them. I mean, I remember racing at Phoenix, and we're following down the track, and I see Andretti in front of me, and it's just spent so much of that race next to him, and afterwards, that was one of the coolest things to think back on. But once you get out there, you almost forget about it for the most part. So their teams, especially with the Toyota backing, they definitely have a lot more resources than what we have out here on the West Coast. It's cool that they're coming out here. We need the cars. I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, I think if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And it's a great opportunity to be out there just around really good talent, engage yourself. So for me personally, makes me want to, work that much harder to go out there and prove what my guys got. So I think we got a good piece as long as everything we learned from last year applies this year. Just get out there and go to work and, like I said, just see where we stack up.
And, of course, one of the big things a lot of people don't forget is the Shelton chicane.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stack-ups there. Restarts could be crazy. We know ARCA, the initial lap, usually it just goes by. Then the second lap and so on is when the chicane comes in. From last year, was there anything you learned about that, especially around the competition of, like, which drivers you don't want to be around or avoid entering that corner?
Yeah, I think really you just got to be very spatial, whereas far ahead down the straightaways you can, especially on those starts. It gets busy. I thought it was going to be a lot harder down there to get stopped, and now I'm kind of understanding why ARCA does what they do. Is it gives drivers a chance to kind of break up and get out of the throttle, and just gives you a little bit more time to think going down there. Plus, it's not such a tight radius, so down in 4 you can race side by side, versus 2 you definitely got to be a lot more disciplined, and on a start of a race it's hard to give a driver or a young driver to get them to do a little give and not so much take, right? So I think for what we're doing, as long as everyone's going down there with a decent head on their shoulders, we should be all right. I think last year I learned you just don't want to be on the outside. You're going to be somebody's brakes. 8 tires turn better than 4, the old-fashioned saying. So people will use you up. So my philosophy is find a hole and get down. Just get through that corner, and then next time you come back through and actually use the Shelton chicane, that's when you start going to work. And just not overdriving that. So much of this track is about getting down the straightaways. I think it's really easy to get hungry in, but focusing on those exits and just finishing a corner, I think the discipline's going to be there in the long run.
Now, of course, you're running the full ARCA West season, Phoenix, now here in Portland. What other racetracks are you feel is like on your list? Like, okay, this could be a big test for me, the team, and everybody.
Yeah, honestly, the tracks that we haven't hit. Last year I ran 4 races, and Phoenix and Kern, our first 2 races this year, those were races I've never run at, or tracks I've never been to. So those were really big on my list as question marks, versus Portland and Sonoma, these next 2, I had circled because I love them so much, and we ran on them last year, so we had some notes. I feel like after this, Irwindale is another one of those kind of question marks, but luckily I did get some testing in there, so I feel a lot more confident. And the biggest thing this year that I didn't have last year is that super experienced teammate, Jack Wood. He's been such a tool for me to learn how to get up to speed at these places, and both him and his crew chief Kevin, has been beyond open and very humble and just helpful, trying to give us what info they can so that we can use all of our resources, make each other as a team better. And, like Portland, we're coming out here with kind of 2 different philosophies so that we really know what works, and going into Sonoma can be on a much better game plan. So it's a team effort, and it's been really fun to have that kind of group around us, but it's made the job a lot easier in my opinion.
Eric, best of luck to you this weekend. Good to see you again.
Hey, thank you. I got to thank everyone, all of our partners, Pacific Office Automation and Bill McAnally Racing, for letting me be out here. It's a dream come true, so looking forward to it.
Now, we also have another driver that we spoke to over at 10 Barrels, Andre Castro, making another NASCAR Xfinity Series start. Of course, he raced a couple road courses last year, mainly Chicago, Indianapolis. He is here in Portland. Here's what he said to us over at the brewery. Standing here with Andre Castro. Andre, welcome back. It's been a while since we've seen you in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, it's been a few months, but really happy to be back. This was pretty last minute, so haven't had much time to stress about it. Just had a few days to do the sim, the Chevy sim over in Charlotte, prepare that way. So I feel quite good on that, just my braking markers and all that, and then just mentally prepare for being in an Xfinity car.
Now, you've driven a couple of road courses already. Portland, 1.9 miles, very flat. How challenging does that make that compared to some of the other ones where there are more defined like hills and corners where you can overtake?
Yeah, the interesting thing, for me, both tracks I've done so far have also been quite flat. So, Chicago and then Indy. Indy road course is quite flat. So, not too much different in that sense, but definitely I think the medium to lower speed corners here, like the back and forth rights and lefts, and then the first chicane, just with all the chaos that goes on there, that's going to be, it's always a big trouble spot. So I just got to figure out how to navigate through there, have clean restarts all day. And then, I'm just hoping, in the morning, practice and qualifying, just get to grips with the track, figure out kind of what the differences are from the simulator. Because the simulator is a great training tool, but you always have a few differences here and there. So, long story short, I don't know yet. We're going to have to see after I hit the track. We'll see kind of what I need to work on and go from there.
Now, of course, when you hit the track, you're going to have practice and shortly later qualifying. How big of a challenge is that, especially for a smaller team, last-minute deal where all of a sudden it's like, okay, we'll find where we are and make the changes for qualifying to try to get up towards the front?
Yeah, it's really challenging. I mean, for me, that's all I've known. Last year had no owner's points. Both times had to qualify my way in and did that. So, this time at least, we're partnering with SS Greenlight and they have some points. Obviously, we don't want to use a provisional if we don't have to, and we still think we can qualify well. And for myself, I want to get the best starting point I can for the race. But it's hard to make any adjustments just because practice is only 20 minutes long. And then qualifying is right after. So there's not too much we can do. It's just about me. I'll just be trying to learn the track and kind of maximize the car. That's going to be my job. And then if there's anything that I can tell them to change, we can try some small things, but we're not going to have enough time to throw the kitchen sink at it. Mainly I'm just focusing on little changes and then also my own driving, try to make it better each lap.
And when it comes to this race, 2 years ago, wet conditions, a lot of cautions. Last year, good number of cautions, but we saw a lot of beating and banging, a very physical race. Point we had some drivers getting a little bit into each other at the end. Are you anticipating this to be another very physical round? Especially it looks like it's going to be cloudy, but slim chances of rain.
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you take the Xfinity Series to a road course, there's a chance of that happening. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I think the way the race unfolds, the first and second stage could be really clean, and then the last stage would be chaos. So, for me, I'm trying to finish my first race. The last 2 races last year wasn't able to do it. So, I'm just going to be trying to keep out of trouble, and then at the end, just kind of make my way forward as much as I can. But again, it just depends kind of on where we qualify, what other people are doing. If we're going to be around the midfield, there's definitely a lot of contact there all the time. So, it's going to be interesting. For me, it's still a learning experience. It's definitely more physical than a lot of the racing that I've done before, just in terms of contact and what you're allowed to do. So, I've been watching on TV the last couple of years, and it gets really, really physical. So, I don't know. I'll just, I try to race people the way they race me. I'm not sure how they're going to race me, but we'll have to see. We'll play it by ear. Just kind of lay back when I need to, and then, if there's times where I really need to be aggressive, then I'll be willing to do that.
Andre, best of luck to you this weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Now, they're both in the show. One driver that's going to be trying to get in the show, Frankie Muniz. He is here this weekend. He's going to be racing, and surprisingly, he has raced here in Portland before. He's going to do everything to try to get into the show today. We spoke to him at a meet and greet at a Ford dealership. Here's our interview with Frankie Muniz. Frankie Muniz, welcome to Portland. How excited are you to be racing at Portland International Raceway?
I'm super excited. I actually raced here in 2007 and 2008 when I was back in the Atlantics, the Champ Car Atlantics. This will be my first time in a stock car. It's going to be a lot different, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Now, of course, the stock car field, it's going to be packed with, we got Shane Van Gisbergen, AJ Allmendinger, even the ARCA Series. So how exciting is it to be part of such a big weekend for NASCAR here in the Pacific Northwest, and especially for the team, a big opportunity here?
Yeah, I look at the entry list, and I go, wow, like so many incredible drivers. You got some old IndyCar drivers and Ed Jones, and you've got, like you said, Allmendinger, who is a Champ Car champion and now amazing NASCAR driver, and Gisbergen. And so it's going to be definitely very competitive. We have to qualify into the race. We're not locked in on points. So, I'm going to go out and do my best and hopefully be racing on Saturday.
Now, one of the things, this track is a rather older track you raced on. Do you feel like it gives you a little bit of an upper hand compared to if you're just a rookie and, coming to Portland for the first time?
I think, yeah, if you have any experience on the track, it would be helpful. Obviously, what I drove before was way different. So, like, any braking markers or anything that I remember will be different. I think it's an advantage because we only get 20 minutes of practice, right? Most series or most things that you run, you have an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. You can really kind of take your time getting up to speed. Where here, you got to come out and be putting in lap times right away. So I think it hopefully will be an advantage. Granted, Xfinity has been here the last 2 years, so there's a lot of drivers who raced in this race last year. So I think it's going to be a tough race, tough field, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Thankfully, it looks like we're not going to have rain like that first year, cloudy, overcast. But one of the big things, qualifying, practice. What's sort of the goal for the team? Is it just to try to get this more into race trim or try to get qualifying trim? Because we know if you're up towards the front, less likely to get trouble in the Shelton chicane that first lap.
Yeah, I mean, we really just have to make the race. Like I said, we're not locked into points, so there's a lot of different scenarios that some of them are out of our control of us making it into the race. But as long as I put in a good lap, that's all that matters. So my focus is to make the car as quick as possible for qualifying, get us in, and then obviously once we're in, the race is really long. There's going to be yellows. There's going to be a lot of people going off track, and it's almost, I think here at Portland in the past, it's almost been a survival race. A lot of incidents. So if you just race clean, you should have a good finish. So our goal is get in the race. That's step number one, and then goal number two would be finish the race, because then we know we'll have a good finish.
And of course, finishing the race this year. A lot of folks are excited to race because last year, like you said, it's survival from the first lap crash, fighting the pit road, all sorts of stuff. When it comes to having a clean day, how does that look like? Is that a top 10 finish, top 20s, or just, hey, let's run our own race, see where the cards fall?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is only my third Xfinity race, my first one on a road course. I'm just trying to gain as much experience as possible. I know it's a steep learning curve, jumping from ARCA into Xfinity. So for us, a top 20 would be huge. But really, getting in the race, finishing, learning. I want to be able to apply what I'm learning this year for next year when we're running full time and competing. So I don't know. Obviously people come here as a race car driver. You show up with the intention to be the fastest, to be the best. Obviously that's what I would love to do. But I think a win for us would be a top 20 for sure. And it's such a tough field. There's so many good drivers. So I think that'd be great.
Tough field, and a lot of people have been inspired from seeing you go from starting with the ARCA, working your way up, and just being inspiring to so many that want to get into motorsports. If somebody was, especially, they have a career in something else, what's some of the advice just to get started in motorsports? Because we know there's some people out there like, hey, I got this 9-to-5 job or a career job, but I want to go into motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, my advice is to give it a try. I mean, I would start wherever you live, local level, karting. That's probably the easiest way to see if you really like it. Getting in some racing in go-karts and then work your way up. But it's a tough world. It's a tough business, because there's a lot of amazing race car drivers, and a lot of it has to do with opportunity, right? Being in the right place, getting the right ride in the right car with the right team, the right manufacturer. Like I'm so fortunate to have Ford, backing me and Ford Performance and get to come and do cool stuff like this. So that's what a lot of it is. It's a lot of relationships, but then you have to have the speed too. So just do whatever you can and give it a try.
Frankie Muniz, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
So be sure to stay tuned to us right here on the Grid Network. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our coverage this weekend at Portland International Raceway for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and ARCA Menards Series West. Don't forget, the end of June, we'll be back here again for Formula E, the Portland E-Prix, and then in August, the Indy cars, they're going to be here for the Grand Prix of Portland. A lot of races here, a lot more coverage, and of course our usual Grid Network programming each and every week. And for our YouTube members, be sure to check out some of our exclusive content. We'll be vlogging along the weekend right here at Portland International Raceway. Joe Samaniego, thank you.